The room is quiet, dimly lit, a stillness that feels heavy after days of confusion and noise online. The camera fades in on the voice of a weary man, calm but burdened by the weight of misunderstanding. His words are steady, not defensive but deliberate. There's a young YouTuber named Tyler Oliveira, I believe that's his name. He's got a channel, Tyler Oliveira Investigates or something like that, he begins. His tone is composed, but there's a subtle tremor underneath the fatigue of someone who has seen a story get twisted beyond recognition. He pauses, then continues. He posted a video about the poverty in West Virginia, but he spent some time with the Whittaker family. The same family I've been documenting for years. And he asked a lot of questions about the GoFundMe that I set up for them. I thought I should address it because a lot of people are confused right now. The camera holds on his face. His eyes are tired but not defeated. The background, the Whittaker family, long known to viewers across the world through the channel Soft White Underbelly, has lived a life marked by poverty and isolation in rural West Virginia. Their story, once shared as a study in resilience and human endurance, has turned into something much larger and more complicated. When Tyler's video surfaced, it wasn't just another internet clip. It reignited debates about exploitation money and morality in storytelling. Viewers flooded comment sections with anger, suspicion, and heartbreak. Who was telling the truth? Who was helping and who was hurting? Mark, the man behind Soft White Underbelly, wanted to clear the air. This GoFundMe, he says, has been active for years, ever since I started interviewing the family. It's generated a lot of money meant to help them live, survive, eat, travel, whatever they need. That's all it was ever meant for. He leans back slightly. His voice softens, and at the end of last year I started a new GoFundMe to help them buy a house, a permanent home. That was the goal. We wanted to build something lasting for them, but that's where things started to get complicated. Explaining the money, Mark pulls out a piece of paper, a list, numbers scribbled across it, transfers and dates. You look at the GoFundMe and it shows $55, $0 or $60,000, and you think, wow, they're close to buying a house. He says, but that's not how it works. He sighs deeply before continuing. Every couple of weeks, sometimes every 2, sometimes every 3, Betty or Larry calls me. Something's happened. The car broke down. Larry wrecked his car. They need food. They need help. It's always an emergency. And what am I going to say? No, it's their money. It's donations for them. So I send it. He lists the numbers. Sometimes $5, 0, sometimes $6,000, sometimes $14,000, then another $3,000, another $4,000. It adds up fast. As he speaks, the camera cuts to footage of rural West Virginia, narrow dirt roads, scattered houses, and the same small town that first captured global attention years ago. So, yeah, he says, it looks like we're getting close to our goal, but every time it starts building up, they call and I send it. The total goes back down to 0. That's been the cycle for years, and right now, he pauses. It's 0 has been for months. His hands rest on the table. I even sent them money from my personal bank account when the GoFundMe was empty because I care about them. But without saving, without stability, we're never going to get close to that house, and that's the truth. The house that started it all, the dream of a home, one with plumbing, heat, and safety, had always been the heart of the campaign. When Betty mentioned the house across the street, Mark thought maybe this was the chance they needed. They love their neighborhood, he explains. They don't want to leave West Virginia. They don't want to leave their people. There was this nice house right next door. A good one, but it's over $200. 0, that's a lot for that area. He shakes his head, eyes downward. I thought maybe someday, maybe if donations keep coming in, we'll make it, but we never even got close. Every time we raised money, it went back out again. I wasn't saving for myself. It was all for them. He looks back up at the camera. But this video that Tyler made, it changes everything. The video that sparked a fire, the YouTube video in question, created by Tyler Oliveira, framed Mark's work in a way that painted doubt over his intentions. Tyler's video questioned where the money was going, who was in control, and why the family didn't seem to. No, Mark takes a breath. Basically, he says slowly, it's misinformation. That's what this is. People. Online love scandals, they make up things to get clicks, and he created this story, this idea that I'm keeping the money, that I'm somehow scamming the family. He leans forward now, his voice firmer. He never called me, never asked for an interview, never gave me the chance to explain. He reached out once, once, asking for contact info for the Whittakers. And I said no, because I've had hundreds of people ask me for that. I always say no, it would destroy their lives if strangers kept showing up at their home. His tone turns almost pleading. I protect the people I film. That's the rule, always has been. You don't just hand out private contact info to strangers on the internet. I did it for their safety, but somehow that became another thing I was accused of. He rubs his face frustrated, so he makes this video. It's got 1 million views now. His channel's bigger than mine. He gets the views, the clicks, the money. But me, my reputation takes the hit. The frustration finally cracks through. The composure, if he'd just called me, he says, I would have told him everything. I give them money once or twice a month, every few weeks, sometimes $5,000, sometimes more. That's where the money goes. There's no mystery. He pauses. Calmer now, but that wouldn't make a good headline, would it? The truth never does. The cost of fame. The scene cuts to images of the Whittaker family, old footage from earlier interviews. That he's sitting on the porch, her voice quiet and kind. Larry walking down the dirt road near their home, Ray sitting silently in his chair. These images, once symbols of human perseverance, have become viral currency. Millions of people have seen them. Millions have judged, speculated, and commented. Mark continues. People don't realize what this attention does to them. It's not a movie, it's their real life. And every time something like this happens, they get hurt again. These social media investigations, they're not helping anyone. They just make noise. He glances toward the camera again. My audience, most of them, they know the difference between truth and gossip. But some don't, and those are the ones that stick around just to hate. He shakes his head almost in disbelief. That's just the world now. Everyone wants a scandal. Nobody wants a conversation. A plea for understanding. He continues softly. Look, every single cent that's ever been donated to that GoFundMe, it's gone to the Whittaker family. Every one, I pay the taxes on it, and the rest goes to them, always has. He lets that sink in. It's not about me keeping anything, it's about me trying to help, and it's exhausting because now I'm in this position of defending something I shouldn't have to defend. For a moment, he grows reflective. I think about this a lot. The world's different now. Social media gives everyone a platform, and that's powerful, but it's dangerous too. It's freedom of speech with no accountability. And when you put those two things together, you get what we have now, chaos, people believing what they want regardless of truth. He looks away quiet, and I guess I just have to accept that, but it hurts. A community divided. He smiles faintly, remembering the viewers who supported him. There are people who reach out though, he says. They email, they message, hey, Mark, we saw the video. Don't worry, we know who you are. Those people mean a lot. They remind me why I started doing this in the first place. Then more somberly. But for every person who supports, there are 10 who show up to hate. They don't know me, they don't know the family, they just hate. He takes a deep breath. You know what Jesus said. Love your neighbor as yourself. I think that means if you truly love yourself, you'll naturally love others. But if you hate yourself, that's what you'll spread. That's what I see every day online. Miserable people trying to hurt others. The turning point. He sits back in silence for a moment. Then softly, you look at the Whittakers' lives. They're better now. I helped make that happen. Their lives improved because I cared. I've helped them every single time they needed me. His voice trembles slightly, not with anger, but with sorrow. And to see Betty stand in front of someone's camera and say, I don't know what happened to the money, that crushed me. She knows where it went. She's called me so many times asking for help, and I always helped. He looks directly into the lens. Between her and Larry, a lot of money went out. And now it's zero, so I'm done. No more GoFundMes, no more fundraising, no more public help. I can't do it anymore. He exhales slowly, his tone final. This whole thing left a bad taste in my mouth. I'll keep helping people privately, but I'm done doing it publicly. Nobody ever says thank you. Nobody ever stands up and says, hey, Mark's been there for us. Not once. I've never heard that, and maybe I shouldn't expect it, but it still hurts. The screen fades to black. A single line of text appears. The night after the first video response went live, the online storm only grew stronger. Comment sections filled with division, some defending, others doubting rumors. Multiplied screenshots were reposted, and once again the story of a family in West Virginia had become a battlefield for internet opinion. Mark sat alone in his studio, Scrolling through messages, supporters tried to reassure him, but the noise was louder than comfort. Every other message felt like a knife disguised as curiosity. Where's the proof? Why won't Betty talk? Why does the family say they don't know? The world wanted answers, but the truth had already been said. No one wanted to listen. He leaned forward, rubbing his eyes. This whole thing's insane, he muttered. It's like watching something I'd built with love turn into a circus. His co-worker sitting off camera spoke quietly. People don't want the truth, Mark. They want drama. It's entertainment for them. Mark nodded slowly. Yeah, but it's not entertainment for the Whittakers or for me. The weight of misunderstanding. He looked down at the printouts on his desk. Proof of wire transfers, GoFundMe records, screenshots of donation receipts. Here it is, he said softly. Every transaction, every time I sent money to Betty, I've been doing this for years. He picked one up, holding it closer to the camera. $5. Zero here, $4,000. There, $14,000 once because Larry totaled his car. It's all right here. I didn't pocket anything, I didn't steal anything, but that's the thing. It doesn't matter what I show. People will believe whatever fits the narrative they want. He dropped the papers gently back onto the table. This isn't just about money. It's about reputation, trust, and a family that's already fragile being thrown into the middle of an online feeding frenzy. Mark's voice began to waver slightly. Do people realize what that kind of pressure does to someone like Betty? She's not used to interviews. She's not used to being on camera. She gets nervous. She doesn't always know what to say, so when someone shoves a camera in her face and asks what happened to all the money, of course she's confused. Of course she says, I don't know. He shook his head, and then that moment gets clipped, reshared, and turned into proof that I'm some kind of monster. It's unreal, the culture of accusation as. His video played snippets of online reactions flashed by tweets, comments, and thumbnails. GoFundMe scam exposed. Soft white underbelly cat truth about the Whittaker donations. Mark's voice continued beneath the chaos. This is what social media is now, accusation as entertainment. People take a human story and strip the humanity right out of it. All that's left is outrage. He sighed again. You know I've been doing this channel for years. I've sat down with thousands of people, addicts, homeless folks, victims of trauma, survivors of poverty. I've never taken a cent from them that wasn't theirs. I've given them food, clothes, cash, shelter, but all it takes is one video, one headline, and suddenly I'm the villain. He looked up, eyes tired. It's funny, isn't it, how the world loves to build you up when you're helping, but the second there's a hint of doubt, they tear you down faster. Then you can blink. A growing distance. Meanwhile, in odd West Virginia, the Whittaker family was unaware of the full scale of the chaos. They had no internet at home, no phones capable of social media. Their world was small, a few dirt roads, a couple of neighbors and each other. But through word of mouth, through visitors and locals, the whispers reached them. People saying things about Mark, Larry said quietly one afternoon sitting on the porch. His hands, rough and weathered, held a chipped mug. Don't know what's true, don't know what's not. Betty, standing near the door, looked down. Mark helped us. That's all I know. When we needed food, he helped. When the car broke down, he helped. The camera lingered on her face. Confusion mixed with exhaustion. For years, she had trusted this man who came from California, who filmed them, who brought them aid and kindness. Now strangers online were turning that trust into suspicion across the country. Mark could feel that distance growing. It's like this wall between us now, he said quietly. They're family to me, but everything that's happened, it's making them question. Making me question, that's what hurts the most. The pain of silence. He looked directly into the lens. You know what the worst part was? He said. Not one person, not Betty, not Larry, came to my defense publicly. Nobody said, hey, Mark's been helping us. He's given us everything we asked for, not one word, and I get it. They're not media people. They don't understand how these things spread, but silence feels like betrayal when your name's on fire. His tone darkened. I never asked for thanks. But when someone accuses you of something you didn't do, something that could destroy your entire reputation and the people you've sacrificed, for say nothing that hurts, he looked down again. I've been paying taxes on their donations, 37% of everything that comes through. I handle it, I make sure it's legal, and after that, I send the rest to them, every dollar accounted for. I've even sent them money from my personal savings when the GoFundMe was empty. Who does that if they're a scammer? There was no anger in his voice, only fatigue, the kind that comes when you've spent too long trying to prove what should already be clear. The reality of the GoFundMe, he explained again. Slower this time, as if to make sure no one could misinterpret him. Between the two campaigns, the original one and the one for the house, we've raised about $130,000. That's $77,000 on one, $55,000 on another. About $100,000 of that has gone directly to the family, the rest went to taxes, transaction fees, or cash I've handed them personally. He paused. Every time I visit them, I bring envelopes. I've given them cash, $5,000 here, $3,000 there, sometimes even $10,000. They always need something, repairs, food, emergencies. I never questioned it because I believed in helping them live comfortably. He let out a long breath. But that's the problem. There's no saving. There's no building towards something bigger because it all goes back out as soon as it comes. And I can't force them to manage it differently. It's their money. He leaned closer to the camera. People don't understand this. Generosity without boundaries can destroy you. Every time I try to help, it becomes an endless cycle of need, and when I say no, it turns into resentment. That's not charity, that's dependency. And that's the hardest thing to admit. The breaking point. The clip cuts briefly to footage of Mark sitting silently, scrolling through messages on his phone. The lighting is dim, the room quiet except for the faint buzz of the screen. He begins again. I'm done with GoFundMe, all of them for the Whittakers. For my channel, I'm done. They've brought nothing but headache and pain. I set them up so viewers could help, so people wouldn't feel helpless after watching someone's story. But it's turned into chaos. It's made people suspicious of me and bitter toward those I'm trying to help. He shakes his head. I'll keep helping people privately if I feel moved to, but I'm not doing this publicly anymore. I don't need donations. I don't need to prove I'm kind. If I'm going to give, it'll be between me and the person. No cameras, no headlines, no controversy. The words hang heavy in the air. The tone isn't dramatic. It's mournful, a man not giving up on compassion, but on the performance of it in an online world without mercy. His tone grows reflective again. Social media is wild, he says softly. Freedom of speech and the internet combined? It's dangerous. People think it's all about expression. But it's also about destruction. Anyone can say anything, and people believe it instantly. He looks directly into the camera, and when it's about a family, like the Whittakers, people who can't even defend themselves online, it's cruel. They become pawns in someone else's content. They don't understand it. They just live it. He runs a hand through his hair. I don't think Tyler's a bad person. I think he's young. I think he wanted a story, but the story he told has real consequences. It hurt me. But more than that, it hurt them. They didn't ask for any of this. They didn't ask to be famous or controversial. They just wanted to live a quiet reflection. He leaned back, letting the silence stretch. When I started Soft White Underbelly, he said, it wasn't about fame. It wasn't about money. It was about understanding people. Society forgot the Whittakers were part of that. They opened their lives to the world. And for a while, it brought them help and compassion. Now, it's brought confusion and pain. That's the tragedy. His voice softened again. And maybe that's why I feel like I failed them, not because I didn't give enough, but because I exposed them to a world that doesn't understand gentleness. He paused again, then added quietly, I've always believed kindness could heal anything, but kindness doesn't always survive the internet. The moment before the call, he sat for a while, staring at the phone on his desk. Maybe I should call Betty, he murmured. His assistant nodded slowly from behind the camera. Yeah, maybe hearing it from her would clear things up. He hesitated, thumb hovering over the contact list. I don't want this to feel like an interrogation. I just want the truth to be heard. He sighed deeply. All right, he said finally. Let's call her. The sound of the phone ringing filled the room. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a faint voice answered. Hello? The screen faded to black. The screen fades in from black. The sound of a phone ringing fills the air, slow, distant, echoing through the small studio. On the 4th ring, a soft voice answers. Hello, Mark exhales quietly, relieved. Hey, Betty, it's Mark. There's a pause, then her familiar tone, a little unsure, a little wary. Yeah, how are you? He asks gently. I'm all right. Her voice is calm. but there's something fragile in it, the kind of tired that sits in the chest. Mark clears his throat. I just want to be clear about something. Okay, about the GoFundMe money, the money I've been sending you. Betty hesitates, then replies softly, yeah, like every few weeks you call me to ask for some money. Right, she takes a moment. Not every week, I don't. Mark chuckles faintly. Not mocking, just remembering, no, not every week, but usually throughout the year you'll call me. Maybe every few weeks and ask for help for food or the car, or whatever you need, right? There's another small pause. I know that, she says quietly then. With a note of apology, I'm sorry. He leans forward. You don't need to be sorry, I'm not upset, I need to make sure we're on the same page because when Tyler interviewed you, he asked about the money and you said, I don't know, and he asked about the house and you said, what house? And it made it look like I haven't been helping you. Silence finally. Betty says, I've been getting money, but I didn't know you money for the house, or no? Mark frowns, confused. Well, I told you, we talked about this, that the GoFundMe was for the house to try to get enough saved up so we could buy one. I know, she says faintly. He sighs softly. Okay, but I've given you over $100,000 in the last year or so. Maybe the last 14 months, that's a lot. Betty, you didn't mention that to Tyler. Her response is distant, almost like she's hearing the name for the first time. Tyler, yeah, Mark says, the young man who came to see you. Filmed you for YouTube. Tyler Oliveira. I saw Power, she mumbles. Uncertain, you don't know him. I heard about. Mark's voice grows heavier. There's a video of you talking to him. Betty, you're in it. He's asking questions about the GoFundMe. And you're saying I didn't give you any money. That's what's got people so upset. I told you any money, she says softly. But I didn't know you give me money for a house. I thought you getting out your pocket. I didn't know that. Mark nods slowly, understanding starting to replace his frustration. All right, well. Regardless of what the money was for, how often would I give you money? Like every few weeks? Right. Every 4 weeks, she answers simply. He smiles faintly, though his eyes are still sad. Yeah, and it's about, what, sometimes 4,000, sometimes 5, sometimes more, sometimes 2 or 3, right? Right, so that's correct. That's correct. Mark leans back, exhaling deeply. Okay, good, I just wanted to clarify that. Betty, that's all, to make sure we're on the same page, because it seems like watching that video, we weren't even in the same story anymore. There's a long pause. Betty's voice comes back, quieter than before. I ain't talking to Tyler. I don't know who Tyler is. Mark shakes his head slowly. Well, maybe the video was edited or something. Maybe someone took clips out of context. But it looks like you talking to him. I don't tower, she says again. Confused, her voice trembling slightly. Mark sighs. I don't know. Betty, maybe someone manipulated it. Maybe not, but there's a video online where you're saying I didn't give any money and I just wanted to call you myself. Because I don't want this to turn into something ugly between us for a few seconds. Neither of them speaks. The silence is heavy, only broken by the faint hum of static through the phone. Then Betty says softly, I'm sorry. Mark, he smiles sadly. You don't have to be sorry, sweetheart. I wanted people to know the truth. You know I've always tried to help. Right, I know, she whispers. I've never kept anything from you every time you needed something. I tried my best to be there. I know you did, she says again. His tone softens even more. That's all I wanted. Betty, for people to understand that because this video, it makes me look like I took everything from you and I didn't. I know, she repeats, voice trembling slightly. I know. There's another long silence. You can almost hear them both breathing, slow, careful breaths. Mark finally says, thank you for talking with me. Betty, it means a lot. I just needed to hear it from you. I didn't want anyone thinking I've ever done wrong by you. I know you didn't, she answers gently. You've been good to us. Mark's voice cracks just a little. That's all I ever wanted, to help. Hey. Faint noise comes from Betty's end. Maybe a sigh. Maybe the creak of her old floorboards. You did, she says. You did help. Okay, Mark says quietly. That's all I needed to know. He hesitates before speaking again. Betty, I think I'm going to stop doing GoFundMes for you. For the channel? All of it. It's caused too much trouble, too much hurt. Betty doesn't respond right away then. Softly, okay. I'll still check on you, he adds quickly. You know that I'll always check on you. But I can't keep doing this online. It's breaking me apart. Her voice is small. You do what's right for you. He nods, eyes glassy. I'm trying. Betty, okay, there's a quiet understanding in that single word, one that doesn't need translation mark. Whispers, all right. Darling, thank you for talking with me. Okay, take care of yourself. Okay, I will. All right, bye. The call ends. Mark sets the phone down slowly. Staring at it for a long time, the silence in the room feels heavier than before. His assistant doesn't speak. No one does finally. He exhales. That's it, he murmurs. That's the truth. The camera lingers on his face for a moment, eyes red. Voice quiet. You know, he says softly. Almost to himself. I don't blame her. She doesn't understand how the internet works. She doesn't realize what a few words can do, but I can't keep doing this. It's too much. He rubs his temples. This whole thing. It wasn't supposed to end like this. I just wanted to help a family. That's all I ever wanted. He pauses again. The weight of everything pressing down on him, but sometimes helping people hurts everyone involved. The screen slowly fades to black the next morning. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, and Mark's small Los Angeles studio empty coffee cups sat beside his computer. The room still quiet except for the hum of the hard drive processing the video he had recorded the night before. The call with Betty, he hadn't planned to release it. It was raw. Intimate, almost too personal, but as he watched it back, he realized it wasn't about defending himself anymore. It was about truth, plain, unpolished truth. He uploaded it without an intro, without commentary, just the call within hours. Thousands of people watched the response. The reaction wasn't what he expected for the first time in weeks. The comment section wasn't a war zone. It was quiet, thoughtful. Even kind one viewer wrote, "This broke my heart." You can hear the exhaustion in his voice. You can tell he cares. Another, you can hear Betty's confusion. She's not lying. She just doesn't understand. This whole thing has been a misunderstanding. And another, this is what social media forgets. There are real people on the other end of these videos, real hearts, real pain. Mark scrolled through the comments in silence, tears forming without warning. He wasn't proud or vindicated, just relieved. The truth finally was visible. It's not about winning, he whispered. It's about healing. Meanwhile, in West Virginia, back in Odd, the Whittaker home was calm again. The trees outside had started to lose their leaves, the autumn wind carrying them. Across the gravel driveway where Larry's car sat idle, Betty stood at the kitchen window, watching her brother sweep the porch. The radio hummed softly on the counter, tuned to a local station that still talked about the viral videos now and then, but only faintly. When asked later how she felt about everything that had happened, Betty said simply, "It's been too much, all that talking, all that noise. Mark's been good to us. People just don't know." Her voice was calm, but her eyes looked distant, like someone remembering a storm that had finally passed. Larry, sitting nearby, nodded slowly. "He helped us. I know that." It was all they needed to say the end of fundraisers. Weeks later, the last GoFundMe page for the Whittakers quietly came down. No grand announcement, no dramatic post. Just gone. Mark explained it briefly in one final live stream. "I'm done with public donations. If people want to help someone, do it directly. Look around your own city, find someone struggling and give them a meal, a blanket, a hand. You don't need me or a camera for that." His tone wasn't angry, just resolute. "I've learned that the internet can twist even kindness into controversy. And I'm tired of that. I don't regret helping. I just wish it didn't have to end this way." He looked down for a moment, then smiled faintly. "The Whittakers are doing okay. That's what matters, and I'll keep checking on them, just not publicly. Some things are better off private." It was the first time in months that his voice carried peace instead of tension. "A world too loud," he reflected later in an interview. "The internet has made compassion performative. People don't just want to do good, they want to be seen doing good, and the moment there's a misunderstanding, it's no longer about helping, it's about judging." He looked into the distance. "But I still believe people are good, misguided, sometimes cruel when they're scared or bored, but deep down good." The interviewer asked if he blamed Tyler. Mark shook his head. "No, he's young. He's trying to make his mark. I get it. He saw something and thought there was a story. Maybe next time he'll dig deeper. Before publishing, maybe he'll learn the difference between exposing and exploiting. I don't hate him. I just wish he'd called me first." He smiled faintly. "We've all made mistakes on our way to understanding people." The quiet return over The next few months, the world moved on, news stories trended, new controversies erupted. The internet's attention shifted as it always does, but in odd West Virginia things looked much the same as they always had. Betty still tended to the house. Larry still took long walks down the road to the gas station. Ray still sat quietly on his chair, humming to himself, the same way he had before anyone ever showed up with a camera. Fame had faded, but the family had something more precious now. Quiet Betty spoke softly about it one evening while the camera rolled for what would be one of the last updates ever recorded. "It's peaceful again," she said. "Too many people were coming around, too much noise. Now it's just us." Mark didn't say much during that visit. He didn't have to. He just sat with them, no cameras between them for once, no microphones or questions. Just presence, just silence. Sometimes that's all a family needs to heal. Mark's reflection. Months later, Mark recorded one final statement about the experience, not for defense, but for closure. "I started all this because I wanted to show the world what humanity looks like. Unfiltered, unedited, real," he said. "And I think I did, but I also learned that the world doesn't always handle reality well." He smiled faintly, almost sadly. "People think empathy is easy. It's not. It's messy. It's emotional. Sometimes it hurts. And sometimes when you try to help, you end up misunderstood." He paused. "If I could go back, I wouldn't change helping them, not one bit. I just might have protected them and myself better from what came after." He looked down for a long moment before adding softly, "I hope people who watch this whole thing, all the videos, all the controversy, take away one thing. If you want to help someone, do it from love, not for likes. Do it quietly without expecting applause." He smiled again. "That's where the real good happens, in silence." The Whittakers' life after. By early winter, the Whittaker family was living quietly again. Betty's voice, in a short clip sent to Mark, carried warmth. "We're all right," she said. "Things are good. We got food, we got heat. Don't worry about us." Mark shared that small update privately with friends and supporters. Not on YouTube, not on GoFundMe, not anywhere public. Just quietly with the people who had cared for years. Larry's laughter could be heard faintly in the background of the clip. It was short but real, the kind of sound that reminded Mark why he had started filming in the first place. "I think that's enough," Mark said softly after listening. "They're okay, that's what matters." Lessons from the fire. In his final message about the incident, Mark reflected on what he called the modern tragedy of kindness. He spoke calmly, almost like a teacher addressing a class of weary students. "When you put kindness on a screen, people stop seeing it as kindness. They start seeing it as content, and when you become content, you stop being human to them. That's what happened to the Whittakers. They stopped being a family and became a symbol, a story people wanted to control." He looked up. "But they're not a story, they're people, and I think we all forgot that for a while, myself included." He sat in silence for a moment, then said softly, "I'm still learning what it means to help without hurting. Maybe we all are." Closure. Months later, Mark returned to West Virginia. One last time, he didn't film the visit. No camera crew, no interview setup. Just him and a small gift in his hands, a framed photograph of the family from their first day together years ago. He knocked softly on the door. Betty answered, smiling, though time had deepened the lines on her face. "Hey, Mark," she said. Warmly, "Hey, Betty," he replied. "I just wanted to stop by, say hello." She looked down at the photo, her smile widening. "That's nice. We look younger there." He laughed softly. "Yeah, it's been a while." They sat together on the porch as the evening light settled over the hills. No microphones, no audience, just two people who had shared a strange, beautiful, and painful journey before leaving. Mark stood and said, "Take care of yourself, okay?" "We will," she replied. He hesitated, then added, "I'm sorry for all the noise. You didn't deserve that." Betty looked up at him, eyes gentle. "You didn't either." He smiled quietly, nodding, "Thank you." Then he walked back down the dirt road, the same one he had filmed years ago. When this story began, the camera, unseen but present, captured the last image. Mark disappearing into the distance, the evening sun falling behind the Appalachian hills. A single line of text fades in. "Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is walk away, not out of anger, but peace." Then another, dedicated to the Whittaker family and to everyone misunderstood for trying to do good. The screen fades to black.